Back in 2011, I made this sanding block and posted it on my website. Since that time, a few people have made it, and I've had a few questions on how to do the tapered dovetail easily on the table saw. So I gave it some thought, and I came up with a fairly simple way of doing it. And in this video, I'm going to make this sanding block from start to finish. To get started, I have an ordinary 2x4 here that I cut to 4 3/4 inches long. I also have a piece of 1/4 inch plywood, just a scrap. It's about 6 inches wide and 11 inches long. The first part I want to make is the handle itself, and I've tipped the blade to 73 degrees and raised it up to cut 1 inch into the wood. Now to finish the cut on the handle, I've moved the fence over and I haven't changed the blade height or angle. I'll cut one side, then turn the block around and cut the other. To make it nicer to handle, I'm knocking the corners off. I've tipped the blade to 60 degrees and also lowered it. So that completes the handle. I'll do a little bit of sanding on this to smooth it out, make it a little bit more comfortable to handle. Next, I want to make the tapered dovetail, and that's where this piece of plywood comes in. I'll also use it for the base, but before I change the angle on the saw, I want to make those dovetail parts. With the fence moved over, I'm making the first cut. Now with the fence moved closer to the blade, I can make the second cut. These next cuts, I've returned the blade to 90 degrees and moved it about 1 3/4 away from the blade. To make the pad for the sander, I'll use the remaining plywood and cut it to 3 1/4 inches wide and 5 1/4 inches long. So what that gives me are 2 narrow pieces with the angle cut on one edge and 2 wider pieces with the angle cut on one edge also. The next thing I did was draw a center line down the actual sanding pad of the sander, and I made a couple of marks that are just 3/16 of an inch away from it on this end. The idea is to glue these strips on at an angle that lines up with the center on this end and on the mark on the other end. So just got to get some glue on here and put it in position. And the same with the other piece. So before going any further, I have to get this clamped up and let it dry. With the glue dried on the dovetail, I can trim off the excess. Now that the sanding pad itself is done, I can assemble the rest of the sanding block, and that involves putting these parts in here tight up against the dovetail section there, and then all I need to do is glue the handle part onto these pieces right here. Okay, what I'm going to do is center the block so I have equal amounts on each end and center it across these pieces. Then make a mark all the way around on both pieces. Then I can get some glue on here. Same for the other piece. I'm staying back away from the edge of this so that the glue doesn't squeeze out and glue it on. And I'll just take the handle and put on top, clamp it up and let it dry. Okay, I gave it about an hour to dry, and take the clamps off, and it should come apart easily, I hope. Here it goes. And that's it. All I need to do now is trim off the excess on the handle itself, and it'll be ready to put the sandpaper in. It is a little bit tricky to remember which way it comes off. So I find the best thing to do is like I did on my old one, and that's mark on it, off, and an arrow pointing in that direction. That way it's easy to see which way it comes off. The sander uses ordinary sandpaper that's been cut into quarters from a full sheet, and you just lay the sanding pad on top, fold up the sides like this, then fold over onto the top like that. And then what I like to do is take the sanding pad out and then refold these a little bit tighter. And slide the sanding pad in and put the handle on. Now it's ready to use. So that's it. A fairly easy project to do. It took less than an afternoon to get it done. And that includes the glue dry time. Don't forget there's a free plan on my website that shows all of the dimensions. I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.